So we just prepped and primed our skin. So our skin is now ready for foundation. Now this is the foundation I use. It is the Maybelline Fit Me Tinted Moisturizer. I don't go in with too heavy of foundations because it doesn't work for my skin type. Everybody's skin type is different. Every single person watching this video either falls into the category of dry skin, combination skin, or oily skin. If you have oily skin, like you are just have a lot of oil everywhere, which is okay, I would recommend a matte foundation, something less shiny. Now, if you have combination skin, I would recommend if your combination's only oily in your T-zone, I would recommend buying 2 foundations. I know that sucks, but I would recommend it because that's my skin type. I use kind of matter foundations here and dewier foundations here, or you could just get a tinted moisturizer. I find those better. And then if you have dry skin, I would recommend more of a dewy foundation, something a little more hydrating, so that your skin doesn't crack or look really like dry on stage, you know? So I'm gonna take my foundation or tinted moisturizer or whatever you use, and you're gonna put it all over your face. I prefer to just put it directly on my face. Don't mind me, my mirror is right here. You don't need a ton, but you want to make sure you cover a lot of your redness if you do get redness like me, because we are going to be on stage. So I'm going to blend that in. How you blend in your foundation is you take your beauty blender and you lightly tap all the product into your skin. So I'm going to go off camera, finish blending all of this out. Use as much or as little product as you want. This is mostly based on what your skin can handle and what your skin wants. This is, for me, I use more because I get very red. And when you get red on stage, sometimes it takes away the effect of the contour. So I use more product, but some people need to use less, and that's okay. So I'm gonna go blend in all of this and I will be right back. Okay, my foundation is all buffed into my skin and we are done with my blending of foundation. So we are going to move on to concealer and contouring. A concealer, all it is a foundation that is lighter than your skin. You do not have to buy a quote-unquote concealer. If you have a foundation that's lighter than your skin, you can use that. Just anything that is a shade or 2 lighter so that you can highlight and accentuate certain parts of your face. So I'm gonna look off to my mirror for a second so I know what I'm talking about. I like putting concealer around my eyes. So I like putting concealer right here, right down here along my jawline, and right here on my temple of my forehead. That will help accentuate your T-zone area. Then I use a liquid contour. You do not have to use a liquid contour. You can use a powder, but I recommend using a powder contour after you powder your face, which we will get into after I contour. And I'm going to put my contour along my cheekbones, the far end of my forehead, because I have a giant forehead and I need that to go down, and my jawline. So just understand that everybody's face shape is different. Everybody's face shape is either longer or shorter or wider or smaller. Everybody has a unique face shape. So this will change depending on how your face looks. And if you need help with that, please just ask me and I can figure it out for you. I am going to go put on my concealer now. And I just put a few little dots under my eyes, on my forehead, along a little bit above my jawline. I don't know what that area is called. And then I'm going to blend that in with my beauty blender using the same technique that I did for my foundation. Say hi to Buddy, everybody. He's right here, he's my baby. So I'm gonna blend that in the same way I blended in my foundation, trying to keep it in its generalized area. So you don't wanna blend this like crazy, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna go blend the rest of this off camera and then come back when I'm done. Now that the concealer is blended, I'm going to take my liquid contour. If you are using a powder contour, I would recommend powdering your face beforehand, but I'm gonna powder after I contour. So I'm going to take my contour, which is a few shades darker than my skin, and I'm going to put it in generalized locations like along my cheekbones. So right here. Around my forehead. And a little bit under my jawline, just to make that more defined on stage. Now the difference is, with normal makeup and stage makeup, is your contour is going to be harsher and less blended out. Right now, I'm just going to blend it out and then put a powder over it. So this doesn't have to be as harsh, but if you're only going with a powder, it needs to be a little bit harsher because of stage lighting. Stage lights blur everything. Because of how bright they are, they will make any regular contour you have disappear. And that's why if you look at an actor really up close, you're gonna be like, oh dude, your makeup is blotched. But in actuality, it looks great on stage. And that's the only thing that matters. Luckily, we are all playing children for Charlie Brown. So the less contour, the better, because they're kind of round-faced children. I mean, Charlie's literally bald. So, and you just want to make sure that you have features on stage. That's basically what contouring is for Charlie Brown, is making sure you have features on stage. But for whatever our OAP show is, if we ever play adults, just understand that some contours are going to be harsher than others, depending on the age of your character. So now that that is blended out quite nicely, I am going to take my powder. And I use this powder just because there's a lot of it. You can use any powder. I recommend getting a translucent powder so you can just pack it on and it won't add to or discolor your face. But if you only have a powder that is your skin complexion or lighter than your skin complexion, that is a-okay. That literally works so well too. So I'm going to grab my sponge and I'm going to dip it into my powder. And everywhere that you get oily at, I would pack this powder into your skin. So I'm going to take my mirror and do that. So I get oily on my forehead, around my nose area, and my chin. So I'm going to make sure I really pack powder in there. This is called baking, but it's kind of like reverse baking, because normally in like beauty tutorial stuff, they tell you like under your eyes, wherever you put your concealer. I do not recommend doing that at all for stage makeup, or in general, because it's just kind of bad for your under eyes. But anywhere you get oily is where I recommend really buffing in powder. Everywhere else, I recommend getting a fluffy little brush like this and just lightly dusting to set your face. So everywhere else that I did not really pack into, I'm just going to lightly dust some powder on so that it doesn't wipe off. Everybody is going, again, to be a little bit different. Makeup is different for everybody. But I recommend keeping these steps in a similar order because they just end up being easier. Make sure you don't forget your chin area. And I'm going to let this powder sit for a little bit. While you do that, you can like go over your lines, you can do whatever you want, or you can move on to eye makeup. Because we are playing children, we will not be having eye makeup. Unless you want to just put a neutral shade on your eyes. That is all we're doing. But for other shows, this is what I recommend. It is a stage no-no to have any glitter or shimmer on your eye or any highlighter. Because of how bright those lights are, any shimmer will pop way more and it'll blind the audience from actually looking at your face. So highlighter, no. Still, like glittery eyeshadows, no. Unless your character calls for like bright blue crazy eyeshadow, I recommend staying with kind of neutral colors. Because I have a very red undertone, I go for more pinks and browns, kind of neutral browns. And one of my favorite palettes, I'll pull it out for you, is these colors. Because of how neutral they are, they can be used for a variety of shows. But because we're doing Charlie Brown, and this is mostly for Charlie Brown kids, do not do glitter. Please don't do glitter. I'm begging you. I'm begging you, don't do glitter. Because it just doesn't read on stage that well. I think I've waited long enough with my little rant. And I'm going to kind of wipe off that bake or wherever you packed your powder. So I would just start wiping it off by gently pressing it out of your skin. So all this is doing is packing powder into the places where you get oily, so that if you do sweat on stage, which we all will be sweating on stage, it is very hot up there, it will just absorb instead of completely tearing off your makeup. So now that you have powdered, I like going in now with a contour, a powder contour. This is my powder contour. It is a neutral shade. It isn't too warm and it isn't too dark. It just kind of fits my skin the best. Again, everybody else here will be different. Some warmer tones, like this one, I'm gonna show you. I have too much makeup. So this is more warm compared to this one. This one's cooler, this one's more warm. If you have a cool undertone, I recommend getting a cooler, more neutral brown. But if you have a warmer undertone, I recommend getting something a little more of a bronzer-like color. This is the palette I'm going to be bringing to the theater. This is a warmer brown, this is a neutral brown. As you can see, there is a difference in how much red there is here than there is here. So this is what I'll be bringing to the theater. So if you see or think that one of these shades will work for your skin, don't worry about buying it. But if you don't and you're like, oh, I don't know, I would just buy one of your own. So I'm gonna take this little fluffy brush. I'm going to dip it into my more neutral toned brown. Put that away. My more neutral tone brown. Kind of dust off the excess because, oh, did you see that? That's gorgeous. Dust off the excess. And then I'm going to take this and everywhere you put your contour at last time, if you are using a liquid contour like I am, I would just go over with powder. The harsher, the better. And I know you're going to be like, Danny, you're crazy. But I mean, like, the more you blend it out, the less it's gonna read on stage. So sometimes you're gonna look a little crazy. This is one of them. Luckily, we are playing children, so you're not gonna be like harsh angles, you know? But having some definition on stage is necessary. So I'm going to just contour here, just right here, to kind of keep that child roundness of Charlie Brown. Everybody's character is different. If you have any questions, just come talk to me. And then you're going to do the same on your temples or whatever. I think these are temples. I hope these are temples. And then under your jawline. And then your nose. I'm going to move to a more smaller brush for my nose contour. This is rounder. It's still fluffy, but it's just more precise. So I'm going to go into that shade, dip my brush there a few times, and just go in the direction of my nose right here. The reason you do this is because you don't want to look like you don't have a nose on stage. I mean, that's literally it. You just want to look like you have a nose on stage because those lights are very bright. And anywhere you contour needs to be a little harsher than you would ever do in real life. Trust me, you guys are gonna be like, Danny, you don't know how to do makeup. And I'm like, I swear, I kind of do, I promise. So that's how I contour my nose. Every nose is different. You will hear me say this over and over and over again. Everybody's different. It will look different for other people. If you need my help in kind of trying to find where your nose contour would start and end, just come ask me. I am more than happy to help. Next step, blush. We are playing children. They are all rosy little kids. So this is my blush palette. It has been well loved and well loved for sure. So I'm going to take the more neutral pinks and I'm going to put that, because we are children, all on the temples right here. Temples, not temples, the apples of your cheeks. But if we are playing like older, you would not want to put blush here because this is how children look. We're trying to play young little kids. And again, it needs to be a little bit more harsh than you would normally do because we're on stage, bright lights, stuff like that. Things need to read to the back of the audience. Just like how when you're acting in a farce, if you guys know what a farce is, you need to be bigger so that the back of the audience can read it. It's the same thing with makeup. I'm gonna put it also on my nose because we are playing children and I think it's cute. And this is your base makeup. This is how your base makeup should approximately look. You will have your blush, your contour, your base is done. And next, we're working on final details. So I'll see you in the next video.